Hello, it's me. If you don't know me, my name is Court, and today we will be reading books that are my favorite booktubers' favorite books. If you don't know Heather, Heather is Heath's Book Club or Heather McLarry on booktube, booktok, Instagram, everywhere that you can find her. I absolutely adore her. I'm in her Patreon book club. I stalk her on the internet. No, I'm just kidding. Heather, don't come for me. I just love her. Everything that she recommends to anyone, I obsess over. And I love her content. I love her channel. She's so authentic and real. And I just have been following her the longest out of anybody, actually. And she inspires me every single day to want to put out book content. So I will be reading 4 of her favorite books and giving my honest reviews because she gives me the greatest ever book recommendations. She's where I found If We Were Villains, which was my favorite book of 2024. So she could tell me to read her grocery list and I'd be like, yeah, okay, sounds like a great read. She could be like, this is the most unhinged book you'll ever read, but it's 5 stars. Please read it. And I'd be like, okay, sold. Can I get it on Kindle Unlimited? Today we will be reading and starting my week of reading Heather's favorite books. We are starting with none other than Dead of Winter by Darcy Coates. I am getting into the horror genre. I absolutely love every horror book that I've read thus far, and Heather said that this is her favorite horror book. So I'm super excited to start Dead of Winter. I know it's about this tour group in the mountains, and like one by one people go missing and end up dead, and somebody in their tour group is killing them or something weird's happening, and they're like stranded because it's the dead of winter. So I'm really excited to jump into this, and I'll be back with thoughts later. I started reading Dead of Winter last night. As you can see, I got about halfway through. I'm on chapter 38, page 170. I thought I was just gonna read like a funny little 50 pages. My microphone cut out at this part, so here's me in a little voiceover telling you what I'm saying. The voice not matching up with what I'm saying on the screen is going to irritate you just as much as it irritates me. I so much apologize, besties. But basically, I'm just telling you how much I am enjoying the book, how I thought I was going to read just 50 pages the night before, but I read like half the book, and I have 2 main theories of what's happening, but I was going to keep them to myself because I didn't want to spoil anything. And the first theory I thought was correct. However, I did have a backup theory because I love psyching myself out, and I was going to continue reading and hopefully finish the book that night because I could not put this book down. So we were going to jump back into the book. I just reached chapter 44. My theory remains true, intact. I still have the same theory. I think I'm right. I'm on chapter 55. I had a hunch that something like this was gonna happen. If this is who I think it is, I'm gonna freak out. So I finished Dead of Winter. I'm giving this book 4 stars. The amount of like turmoil this book put me through, I love Darcy Coates' writing. I cannot wait to read more Darcy Coates for sure. This is my first by them and I literally cannot wait to read more. I'm giving this 4 stars. Like I said, I did guess the major plot point twist thing, so unfortunately, but it did have me doubting like a lot of the book. If I was right, I was like, but there is like more than one twist, and I only guessed like one of them, so I was like shocked and appalled throughout the book because of other twists and the way she keeps you like wanting more because of the short chapters and the cliffhangers at the end of each chapter. I just couldn't put this down. So 4 stars, and on to the next book. So, as you guys saw, I started the Secret History. I am about 25% through the book. This writing is unlike anything I've ever read before, so that was interesting to get used to. However, I am really enjoying. Like I've mentioned, my favorite book from last year and now of all time is If We Were Villains, and I've seen that this book is like related to If We Were Villains, or people relate this book to If We Were Villains, so I'm really excited to get through this book and read more about it. There's a lot going on, like a lot of moving parts in the book where I'm at right now. I really like an academia setting, a university setting, all of that, and since this is dark academia, we are at a university and there's something going on. This book is told in like a storytelling point of view where our main character is literally telling you the story. You're getting the story in the present, but sometimes he'll like jump in with things to remind you that like he lived through this and this is his story. So like he's telling it in the present, but it's like a past time story, if that makes any sense. It took me a minute to get used to, but I really am liking this as a book. The font size in this book is super small, and there is like 500 and something pages, so it's taking me a minute to get through, but I am really enjoying it so far, and I am ready to dive back in because there's something going on, and like they tell you like at the beginning what happens, but like you don't know why, and I'm so curious what's going on here. So let's jump back into this and see how I like the Secret History. On chapter 7. First of all, the chapters in this book are long. There's only like 8 chapters total in this 500-page book. It's fine. I see why people associate this with If We Were Villains, and vice versa. They are strikingly similar. However, I feel like I connect to the characters in If We Were Villains a little bit more. I still have quite a bit to go. I'm like maybe 60-ish, 65, 70% through this book. I'm very intrigued. I feel like there's a lot that I still don't know, and maybe it's just because I'm too dumb for this book. I don't know. Maybe this is like, I'll like it more the more I reread it or something. Like, it's not that I'm not enjoying myself, because I am. I just feel too dumb for this book. They talk in Greek and like a lot of like old languages. It took me a long time to realize that this is set in the 1980s. So like there's a lot of different things going on that I just like didn't catch, and I'm slowly starting to like catch things. But I'm in like the second little part of the book, and I am very intrigued to where this is gonna go. I like Henry. If you've read this, I like Henry the most as of right now. I think that's because I liked James the most in this book, and if you've read both of them, James and Henry seem like the same exact person to me. Again, I haven't finished The Secret History, but they seem like the same person, kind of. And like they share a lot of similar characteristics, and they're both my favorites in each of these books. However, I just feel like there's a lot that I don't know still, even though I know like the main thing that's going on and what happened. I still feel like something big's gonna happen, and I'm gonna be like, what? Huh? And I'm confused why this is being told in like the future. Like our main character is telling this from the future, telling the story from the future. I feel like that plays a part into it, but I haven't figured out why yet, and I feel like that has something to do with it. I don't know, I look too far into things sometimes, but the writing is very beautiful. I have underlined so much in this book, and I can't wait to finish it, but I'm gonna go to bed now and finish it tomorrow. I knew that something was gonna happen, so I don't know why I'm shocked. Like, I'm not shocked, I'm disappointed, yet not surprised, you know? But, oh, wow, I have to read the epilogue and then we'll debrief. Wow. Hi, okay, I just finished this book and I'm still reeling from it, but I feel like you're not going to get a more genuine reaction to the ending of this book unless I talk about it now. I feel like I need like a deep breath before I like start uncontrollably sobbing. Oh my gosh. Let's just take a breath. I'm not sure what I'm going to rate this. I'm going to probably just go through all my ratings at the end because I need a moment for this book. If I continue to think about this book, it's probably going to be a 5-star. Right now I'm kind of at a 4.5, but I want to see how it marinates in my brain because right now I'm like, I also don't like rating things right after I read them unless I'm 100% sure on my rating. However, I did just finish, like like I said before, I felt like I was too dumb to read this book, and then I finished this book, and as I was saying earlier, Henry was my favorite, and I had kind of fallen into this thing where I just wanted to know what Henry was doing. If you've read this book, you know how important that is. What? The author is a genius. Donna Tartt is a genius. This is my first Donna Tartt book. I want to read more. Her writing is phenomenal. Do I still think that I am too dumb to understand some of the things that she writes? Yes. Some of the quotes in here, I like underlined so many things in this book because I was like, what? There's one I think I need to read. The way that Donna Tartt explains some things, especially like the way that Richard was feeling in these books, especially like right in the middle all the way to the end, had me completely like honed in. This quote specifically, I was like, how do you just like explain that to somebody like that? Like, how does that come to your brain? It says, above my head in the wicked black claws of an elm, a maroon kite rattled convulsively, then was still. This is Kansas, I thought. This is Kansas before the cyclone hits. If you knew the context of what was going on in the middle of this book, that quote hit me so hard. I was like, excuse me? You're just gonna like do that to me? Anyway, Donna Tartt's writing is fantastic. I really want to read more by Donna Tartt, but I think I need a minute. I am left reeling. There's so much put into this book that's more than just the plot. My only quips with this book is that it's very long. It dragged on for quite some time. I felt myself getting a little bit bored when things were not more action, but her writing was still so beautiful and like almost poetic that I didn't really mind it, but there were some times that it really dragged out, and that's why I don't know that this is a 5-star, but I really did love it. Now, the reason that I wanted to read this book specifically is because everyone compares it to If We Were Villains. If We Were Villains is my favorite book of all time. I continue to talk about this book. I will never shut up about this book. I absolutely loved it. I see a lot of the similarities. I see how they are referred to each other, and I see why people associate them with each other. Do I think that they're exactly similar? No. Do I see why people associate them with each other? Yes. And am I glad that I read both? Yes. I still like If We Were Villains more. Here's why. If We Were Villains, I related to the characters a lot more. I understand and like Shakespeare a lot more than Greek culture and the Greek language and the classics. So I was able to connect with these characters on that level more rather than these characters. However, I don't think you need to have a great understanding of either the classics in Greek literature or Greek language or Shakespeare to really like and enjoy either of these books. I just think that's why I like If We Were Villains more. Both books have very flawed friend group characters and are set in a more liberal arts college setting. And I think that's why people associate these books together. However, the things I liked about this book more, I thought that some of the setting and the writing of the setting and how the plot progressed was a little bit better because I didn't really grasp the overall purpose and plot of this book until I was about 70 to 80% in this book. And then I was like, oh. So I feel like with this book, if I reread it, I would like it more. That's all I'm going to say. And I'm yapping too much. So we're going to move on to our next book. I'll let you know at the end what I do end up rating this. I did have such an amazing time reading this. And it is one I plan to reread in the future to see if I do like it more. But I love this. If you need something dark academia and you've read If We Were Villains and liked it, I highly recommend this. This is so good. I'm so glad I read this. We have 2 books left, and one of them is another dark academia book, and I'm super excited to read it. However, I think I need a break after The Secret History from reading dark academia because that still has me reeling. So our next book is All Roads Lead Here by Mariana Zapata. I'm gonna start this today. I have the new cover. I don't have the old cover, but I did get an autographed copy, signed copy when I was in Florida a few weeks ago. And just to knock another book off my TBR, I want to read All Roads Lead Here, and I feel like I need a romance book in between some of these hard-hitting dark academia books. So we're gonna read All Roads Lead Here by Mariana Zapata, which again is another one of Heather's favorite authors' favorite books. So, and I don't own Wait For It. I know she loves Wait For It more, but we're gonna read All Roads Lead Here because I do own this and I got a copy of the audiobook from Libby, so I think I'm gonna listen to a lot of this and we'll see how I like it. So let's read All Roads Lead Here. I have listened to like 18%, I think it said. I'm on chapter 6, page 107 is this, and I'm really glad that I picked this to read next because it is just what I needed right now. It's just a cute little romance book with just a grumpy man and his son, and the main character, the main girl character, is like funny but like also relatable, and I really like that. So I'm just really enjoying my time listening to this book, and I'm using my favorite bookmark. I have to show you guys. My little Twisters bookmark. Absolutely love it. I am not like super far into it, but the audiobook is really good. I think it's a duet. I believe it's a duet. Why can't I remember? Anyways, there is a male narrator and a female narrator. I'm not sure if it's a duet or if they just read their own chapters or their own like talking points, but I do believe it is a duet. Anyways, I'm really enjoying this so far. It's just what I need right now. Mariana Zapata's writing is so good. Her like humor is so funny, and like even though they haven't like gotten a lot of interactions because he's this grumpy old man that she's like living on his property, the little bits that we get of them I'm eating up, and I think this slow burn romance is just what I needed, and the tension and it's not really banter, but like I feel like we'll get there. I cannot wait. So I'm going to go to the gym and listen to this a little bit more, and we'll see how far I get into it, but I'm really enjoying this so far. So I'm really glad I picked this one up to start next, and I'll be back later with some more thoughts. Hello. I did not give any more updates to this book. However, I have now finished this book. I couldn't stop reading it. My bookmark is on a page because I want to read this quote to you, because this quote solidified this book for being a 5-star for me. Yes, this book is a 5-star. This is easily one of my new favorite romance books of all time. I just need to read you this quote. Please hold. He says to her before they even get together. They're not even together in this part of the book. That's how much of a slow burn it is. And I loved that about it so much. He says this to her. Because I've been watching you grow for months. I don't want to be something you grow around. You were with someone who gave you too much shade before, right? I'd rather us take our time than me stunt where you're going, who you're becoming. I'm sorry. The way he was such like a gentle giant type of man. At first he was this grumpy, broody single dad, and then he moved into this gentle giant type of man, and I loved every second of it. Their dynamic, the way that Aurora was with Amos, everything. I loved every single part of this book. The narrator for this is also really good if you want to listen. I don't know how to like thoroughly explain to you how much this book means to me, but it pulled out every single emotion. I literally could not put this book down, or like I guess stop listening to it. Literally everything I was doing, I was like play on my book. When I wasn't listening to this book, I was thinking about them. This book made me literally giggle out loud. This book made me like blush and get like so giddy at these characters. It made me cry. I don't know. This is my first Mariano Zapata book. I'm not sure if I said that already, but it is definitely not going to be my last. That this book is crazy good. I just really enjoyed. And it's been a long time that I can't even remember where I've read a book where they grow apart first and then get together. A lot of the books that I've been reading recently, they get together really quick and we don't get to see them grow as people first. Where these two were dealing with like a lot of things and needed to grow as people first, and then they grew together and came together, and I believe that they pushed each other in the right direction by being friends and by being present in each other's lives, but they didn't need to be together and have a physical relationship or even a relationship at all besides friendship to push them into that. And that was just something super special and that I loved so much about this book. And that's why it's a 5-star, and I will forever think about these characters. And now I need to read everything Mariana Zapata ever writes ever. So if you have not read this, please do yourself a favor and go read this. But that's our third book for this video. We're going to jump into our final book of the video, and one that I am scared to read, but also so excited to read. Like, I have been anticipating getting home today to start this book. We're starting Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. So, I don't know much about this book other than I believe it's set at Yale. Yes. Yale's freshman class. It's about Alex Stern, who is an unlikely member of Yale's freshman class. And it also is about like Yale's secret societies and like the undergoings about what's going on at Yale and all of those things. Other than that, I don't know, and I want to go into this as blind as possible. I believe it's going to be a lot like Secret History, where the more I read this, the more I'll understand. But I want to read this, and I want to read Hellbent, and I'm really excited to start this. So let's go. You want to tell them? According to Goodreads, I am 50%, like exactly, through this book. I've been annotating it because I think it'll be fun when I do reread this to go back through and see what I thought was important. This book is very interesting. It's reminding me that I love books like this, that like, it's very hard to explain, so bear with me, but it's like those urban fantasy type of books where it kind of makes you think that, hey, maybe magic is real in real life, and are there really these secret societies at Yale and just nobody knows? Like, we just would never know. Books like these make me love thinking about that kind of stuff, and I don't know what that's called. I think it's urban fantasy, magical realism. Not really sure. I know this is also dark academia, so I'm eating it up. I love that it's set at Yale. I literally just sat here and binged 50% of it. So I'm obviously liking it. I am intrigued to see what happens. I'm glad that I went into this blind because I'm making my own like opinions. It really caught me off guard that this was third person, but I didn't catch that it was third person until like 25% through, and then I was like, oh, I've just been reading in third person this whole time. Anyways, it is in dual point of view, but it's also in dual timelines. It's really hard to explain without telling you exactly what's happening in the book, but basically you're following the mentor and the mentee, and the mentor is currently missing, and I don't know what happened to him. So I'm excited to figure out that situation, but there's like 87 other things going on, and I don't know how she's gonna tie everything together. I know there's a second book. I know Hellbent is also out right now, and I really want to read that after this. I think I'm just gonna like binge through both of them, but I don't know how much will get wrapped up in the next like 200 and some pages. But I'm hoping a lot because I have a lot of questions. Something I really like is the journal entries that we get kind of scattered throughout that are helping me understand the houses a little bit, and also just like the dual timeline. It kind of helps understand what's going on. So I'm excited to continue, and I'll probably binge the next half tomorrow, and then we'll be done. Like, I literally can't put this down. I'm addicted to whatever's in this book, so stay tuned. I immediately need the next one. This was so good. This is obviously 5 stars, but it's also really late and I'm working late. So, more tomorrow. Hello everyone. Let's debrief all of the books that I read in today's video now that I've had some sleep. We read 4 books in today's video. We're going to go ahead and debrief on all 4 books. I'll give you my thoughts, my final ratings, and just kind of go through all of them right now. I started with Dead of Winter. I gave Dead of Winter 4 stars. Darcy Coates' writing is so leave you on the edge of your seat, keeps you wanting more. I read this in literally 2 sittings, and I would have finished it in 1 if I didn't have to work the next day, I think. The chapters are really short, 2 to 3 pages each. There's so much going on in the entire book that you just keep wanting to know more and more about what's going on. I felt like I flew through this book while simultaneously I was like, I need to read faster so I know what's going to happen. And like, I felt so bamboozled, but also I did guess who the killer was going to be. But that's okay. The writing was still so good. And I love books where the cast of characters are the type of characters who you guess everyone, including the narrator, and that's this book. That is this book. I was second guessing myself. I was second guessing the narrator. I was second guessing literally everyone included in this book. Dead of Winter follows this tour group who's on their way to this ski resort and their bus breaks down. So they're forced to relocate to this small little secluded cabin in the middle of the Rocky Mountains in the dead of winter. So they're forced to like already start surviving in this cold climate with just basically their suitcases and the clothes on their back. This trip is one where they weren't supposed to bring their phones. Some people did, but they don't have cell service out here also. And one night they all go to sleep, and the next morning they find their tour guide's head apart from his body and on a tree branch outside. And the body's nowhere to be found, just the head. So, one of their tour group members is killing them off one by one, and we're supposed to figure out with our narrator who is doing this. I feel like this book like envelops you into it, and you're just like drawn in from the very beginning, and then you can't put it down. That's the type of book that I love. Even though I guessed who it was, there is also this like secondary plot that I had no idea was going to make such a big impact and like left me reeling. So I also really loved that aspect of it as well. And it just like throws you left and right when you're reading this book, and I absolutely loved it. I cannot wait to read more by this author, and this one gets a 4-star. Then I read The Secret History. This book and me. I'm still unsure what I want to rate this. On Goodreads, I put 5 stars. On Instagram, I think I said 4.75. And when we last spoke about this book, I think I said between a 4 and a 4.5. I am between a 4 to a 5. I bounce back and forth. I don't know if it's a 5-star. That's why I put 4.75 on Instagram. I give it a 5-star on Goodreads because you can't do halves or 0.25, 0.75. I don't know that it's a full 5 for me because of the little bits that dragged on, and I found myself like wanting a little bit more action. However, I feel like it was intentional and I'm just not getting it. I feel like I said, that I will come to love this book more the more I reread it. And the more I come back to these characters and the more that I think about them. Because I finished this book like 4 or 5 days ago, and I already bumped it up from a 4 to a 4.5 to a 4.75 to a 5. So I feel like the more that I read this and the more that I think about these characters, I will enjoy it more. However, There were some things that dragged out. Like I said, I didn't really understand some of it. I felt really dumb reading it. However, I'm just unsure what to rate it. I had such a good time reading this book. I love books like this. If there are any books like this that are not If We Were Villains, please recommend them to me. I love reading books like this, like a silly group of friends in a university or a school setting. Not even silly, just like a group of friends that's like strange, like Dead Poet Society. I loved that book slash movie. Just those types of books. If you have recommendations, please leave them down below because I need more like this. However, this one, while it didn't outshine If We Were Villains for me, I had such a good time reading it, and I understand why people love this book, and I love the characters. This book, like, I think about these characters a lot. I think about the messages in this book a lot, and I already can't wait to reread this. So we're gonna say a 4.75 for now, but I'm sure it'll go up. Now we get into the good ones. Not that those weren't good. Those were good, but these are good. Next, I read All Roads Lead Here by Mariana Zapata. Tobias Rhodes. Tobias Rhodes. That's literally it. Like, that could be the review. I read you guys the quote that I absolutely love that made this book a 5-star book for me. And I talked to you guys a little bit about how I loved that they grew apart and kind of pushed each other as friends and didn't really need a physical or emotional relationship past being friends to grow without each other but still grow towards each other. And I felt like that was something that I don't really see in romance books anymore. And I really, really loved that in this book. I also just really loved the dynamic of this girl staying in his studio apartment above his garage, and he's just like a grumpy man, and he like doesn't let a lot of people in, but he lets her in, and it was just so special. And I could not stop listening to this book. I knew when I couldn't put it down, and when I heard that quote that I read to you guys, this book was going to be a 5-star. I constantly think about Tobias and Aurora. I'm like, what do you think they're doing? Like, I just love them. The pacing of this book was amazing. I didn't think that I would be a slow burn girl. I thought that I'd like be like, just come on, get together already. But the way Mariana Zapata does it, I was like, ooh, like I was giddy the whole time reading this book, and I just love feeling like that when reading romance books. And I cannot wait to read more Mariana Zapata because if all of her books make me feel like this, I need all of them. Give me 14 of them right now, please. Thank you. And last but certainly not least, I read Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo and annotated it. I am about to start Hellbent today because I need to know what happens after this. I finished Ninth House 2 nights ago. I took a break and I'm about to start Hellbent today because I need to know what happens. I ordered it and it's getting here today. And I need to know what happens. This book is obviously a 5-star as well. I haven't read a Leigh Bardugo book until I've read this. I haven't read Six of Crows. I haven't read Shadow and Bone. Those are on my TBR. Please let me know down below if I should read those. But this was my first Leigh Bardugo book as well. I really love when more than one genre or more than one trope is thrown into a book and it's done right. And I feel like this book is that. This book is a mixture of fantasy, magical realism, like a kind of paranormal magical realism, thriller, and dark academia all thrown into one book, and it was done extremely well. You're following our main character, Alex Stern, who has had like not the greatest time being alive, and she can see ghosts. They call them Greys at Yale. However, she gets this opportunity to join Yale on a full ride scholarship, I believe, because she has this ability. And there's these secret societies at Yale who have been trying to figure out how to see these Greys for as long as the college has been founded, because Yale is on this like magical ward system where the town just like holds magic. So these societies all have their own like responsibilities and all the ways that they do their own magic, and you're just learning about the societies but also learning about Alex and learning about the Greys. But there's also this underlying mystery thriller plot going on because Alex was supposed to have a mentor, Darlington, and he goes missing, and you don't really know how or why or what happened, and you're trying to figure out what happened to him and if Alex is going to get him back and like what's going on with that whole plot, as well as Alex is just kind of in this ninth house because there's 8 societies called Lethe, who is kind of like the rule. It's not like the ruler, but it's like the, I don't know how to make a reference without saying that I was in a sorority. They're like the rule people. Like they make sure all of these societies are following the rules and doing magic the right way. That's what Lethe is, and that's who Alex is now a part of, which is the ninth house. That's how I took it. If I'm wrong, if I'm completely wrong, please let me know if you've read this. I just found this magic system, the society system, everything was so well done. Everything was so well written. Everything was so like the pacing was great. The way that we found out things little bits at a time, I absolutely loved. We kind of figured out more and more as Alex herself was figuring things out, and the ending had me shocked. I have the most tabs like right here at the end because I was like, it was just like boom, 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 thing after thing after thing was happening, and I absolutely loved it. I can't wait to read Hellbent and figure out more about what's going on here. And then I need Bardugo to write the third one because I know there's a third one. If Hellbent ends on a cliffhanger and I don't have the third one, I don't know what I'm going to do. I set myself up for this. Anyways, this is a 5-star. I highly recommend this if you like fantasy, if you like a university setting. It's a very easy to understand magic system. While it's a little confusing at first, it's because you're figuring things out as Alex figures them out. And I like that it was written like that. So if it takes you a minute to catch on if you read this for the first time, just give it a minute. And I think you'll like it. That is all for today's video. Thank you so much to Heather for letting me pick her brain about the books that I should read and for agreeing to let me stalk her YouTube so I can pick the books that I wanted to read for this video. And thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe and comment below your favorite booktubers so I have more booktubers to watch. And if you've read any of these, let me know your thoughts on them below. And all of my information is down below if you want to find me somewhere else on the internet. And I'll hopefully see you in the next one. Bye!